Good afternoon and welcome to Kasbah Resources. We have a tin project in Morocco. The normal disclaimer, Kasbah is listed on the ASX. This year has been a big change year for Kasbah with a new board and new management in place. Late last year there was an aborted merger with a nickel company out of Vietnam, and as a result of that Parla stepped into Kasbah, made a significant investment. The board changed, management's changed, all to good effect, I believe. Very good, strong investor base there, with Parla owning about 21%, Lion Africa have about 14%, and then a number of institutions and traders. The project is called the Ashmash project. It's in northern Morocco. We own 75% of it, and the Japanese have 25%, with the majority of that being owned by Toyota. This is one of the most advanced tin projects in the world. It's fully permitted, ready to go. Over $90 million has been spent on this project thus far. Whose is that? Explore the theatre of our minds. There we are. 120 kilometres of drilling has been done into this project, over $90 million spent. It'll be an underground mine, conventional processing, crushing, milling, a gravity circuit and flotation, to produce around 4,000 tonnes a year of tin in concentrate. The tin price has been moving around quite a lot over recent years, and with that, Kasbah has produced a number of feasibility studies being largely driven by the tin price at the time. The new board and management coming in this year had Australian mining consultants review the last DFS, which was done in 2016. AMC came up with a number of recommendations to improve and optimise this project, and we're working through that with a view to coming back to the market in the first quarter of next year with a revised DFS. So tin is in. The market's about 350,000 tonnes a year, predicted to grow at between 1% and 2% a year. That's between 4,000 and 6,000 tonnes, or one of our mines coming on every year. Its primary use is in solder. About 50% of its use gets used in solder, where it has replaced lead. It is increasingly getting used in the battery market. The ITRI, the International Tin Institute, Research Institute, recently came out with a presentation called Tin, the Forgotten EV Metal, and listening to our discussions first off this morning, I don't think tin got a mention, but it's a rising use of tin. The bigger point with tin, though, is that many of the large producers in the world, particularly Myanmar, are beginning to see reductions of output. And so the delta between supply and demand is actually going to be formed by supply falling rather than demand suddenly going nuts. This tin is a conflict metal, so anything out of the DRC needs to be tracked very, very carefully. And in the last 18 months, we've seen the price of tin increase by some 50%, coming up from a low of about $13,500 a tonne. Currently it's sitting at about 19.5. Not sure how many of you know Morocco. It's Africa light, I like to say. It doesn't feel like Africa when you're in it. If you stand on the Rock of Gibraltar, you can see it across the way. It's got about 35 million people in it. It's mining friendly. It has, it's a kingdom essentially, monarchy. Very stable government, supportive of mineral exploration and looking to increase revenue from the resources sector threefold by 2025. For those of you been to Morocco, this is what you've probably seen: Kasbahs and camels, souks and carpets, and it's all there if you want to see it. This is probably the Morocco you don't see, with one of the largest solar farms on the planet, 2 car manufacturing plants, a number of seriously large ports, a fast train, and great road infrastructure. So this doesn't look like deepest, darkest Africa, I think you'd have to say. The Ashmash project is a joint venture between us and the Japanese. As I said, we've had over 120 kilometres of drilling. We have 15 million tonnes of resources, 6.5 million tonnes of reserve. This is ready to go. The difference between the resources and the reserves is effectively drill spacing. Where the drill spacing's 40 metres apart, it's resource, and where it's 20 metres apart, it's reserve. This deposit is open both at depth and on strike, and there's a parallel deposit which in future will add to these reserves, I've no doubt. So currently we have a 10-year mine life, and just really ready to get it moving. If we want to benchmark this project against some of the others in the world, this is just something that Tamasis produced in one of their broker reports promoting Alphamin's Busy project, which is in the deepest, darkest, most dangerous part of the DRC. The project on the right-hand side is in Kazakhstan, and Ashmash comes up as the sort of number 3 global resource ready to be exploited. Some pictures of the project. You can see it's rolling countryside. It's not populated particularly. It's not in the middle of the desert. It's not up in the mountains. We've got an excellent crew on site, just numbering about 6, but been with the project a long time and understand how Morocco works. We've got a camp there capable of housing 50 people, and certainly a nicer one than any of the ones I've stayed in Australia. So this is a project, it's ready to go, it's permitted. We will finalise the DFS in Q1 next year ahead of seeking finance through both debt and equity. The offtake on this project is currently available, and we plan to include that in the financing mix. As I said, we've got plenty of exploration upside, both at depth and along strike, and there is also another project about 13 kilometres to the south that we own 100% of rather than being in a joint venture. New board, the chairman is a fellow called John Gooding, who has headed up Highlands Pacific for the last 9 or 10 years. Graham Freestone is an independent director associated with Shell and Acacia Anglo Gold in the past. Hedley Woodup represents Lion Africa, and then Parla has one of either Stephen Gill or Martin Buttonshaw. We are currently looking for another independent director so that we can have a properly independent board, which is one reason I joined as the CEO rather than as the managing director. Over 1 billion shares on issue. You can see that half of the register is made up of relatively well-known institutions and traders. We do have a large part of our register that has unmarketable share parcels, and we're looking to consolidate those in the near future just to consolidate the broader register as a whole. Market cap currently at about 17 million Australian. And let's explain that. So this is the last 4 years showing what the tin price has done in black and showing what the Kasbah share price has done in green. And you can see that they tracked similarly until the beginning of this year, when tin continued to rise and the Kasbah share price basically fell out of bed. That was a function of the failed merger, complete change of board and management, and a lack of news flow. The ore body hasn't changed, all right? The project remains, and I'd suggest to you very respectively that this is an excellent buying opportunity. So Kasbah has a strong board and management on board, re-looking at the project. This is one of the world's largest and most advanced tin projects. It's a pure tin play too, and one of the few that's out there from a stock market perspective. If you were to invest in Metals X, for example, you're actually investing in a copper mine rather than in a tin play. We're seeing tin prices rise. We forecast that to continue as supply falls. We have a 10-year mine life, but I see every opportunity to probably double that. Morocco is a great place. If you haven't been there, I'd encourage you to go, if only to see the Kasbahs and the souks rather than our mine. And leverage certainly to the new EV battery market. Thank you very much indeed.